All right, let's talk about the Greek gods. But we're not going to talk about the majestic, golden statues you see in museums. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to look at the real stories, the ones that are filled with betrayal, cosmic-level violence, and flaws that look, well, terrifyingly human. Let's get into the brutal truth behind the myth.
You know, the stories themselves tell you right up front to just forget the sanitized versions you learned in school. They're basically saying, brace yourself, because this isn't a story of light and glory. This is something much, much darker.
And really, that's the whole question we're diving into today. What if the gleaming image of Mount Olympus we all have in our heads was actually built on a foundation of, patricide, cannibalism, and just absolute crippling paranoia? Well, let's find out. Our story doesn't begin with a let there be light moment. No, it starts in an endless, suffocating abyss called chaos. It's just a void of absolute nothingness that somehow would end up giving birth to, well, everything.
So out of this chaos, Gaia, the earth, emerges. She then creates Uranus, the sky. But their children, they were something else. You had the 100-handed hecatontryres and the single-eyed Cyclops. And Uranus, horrified by his own kids, committed the first great cosmic sin. He shoved them right back inside Gaia's body. The agony she felt was unimaginable. And that pain turned into a burning need for revenge, a call that was only answered by her youngest son, Kronos.
And this is the moment that sets everything else in motion. Gaia gives her son an unbreakable scythe. Kronos waits in the shadows, ambushes his father, and with one absolutely horrific swing, he mutilates him and takes control of the entire cosmos. But as Uranus is falling, he screams a curse, a prophecy that his own son will destroy him. And that single idea plants a seed of paranoia that guarantees this cycle of violence is just getting started.
With Uranus out of the picture, Kronos is now king. But instead of an era of peace, he becomes a paranoid tyrant, completely haunted by his father's last words. And that paranoia is about to lead to some truly unspeakable acts.
This is where the story truly becomes a nightmare. To stop the prophecy, Kronos doesn't just lock his children away, he swallows them whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, one by one, devoured by their own father the second they're born, kept alive as immortal prisoners inside his stomach.
And just look at this. History repeats itself, almost beat for beat. Kronos' wife, Rhea, comes up with a plan just like her mother-in-law Gaia did. She hides her sixth baby, Zeus, and she hands Kronos a rock wrapped in a blanket instead. And Kronos, so completely blinded by his own fear, doesn't even notice. He swallows the stone, and in doing so, he seals his own fate.
So once Zeus grows up, he comes back and frees his brothers and sisters. And what comes next is the Titanomachy. This isn't just a battle. It is a decade-long cosmic civil war. For 10 years, the old gods and the new gods literally tear the universe apart, turning it into a complete slaughterhouse.
The war is a brutal stalemate until Zeus does the one thing his father never would. He frees the Cyclopes from their prison. As a thank you, they forge these incredible weapons of mass destruction. Zeus gets the Master Bolt, Poseidon gets his earth-shaking trident, and Hades gets the Helm of Darkness, which lets him become invisible. These weapons completely change the game, giving the Olympians the power they need to finally win.
So, a new age begins. The Olympians are in charge. But if you're thinking, great, now things will be better, well, you haven't been paying attention. The trauma and the violence that got them to the top created a family that is anything but functional. And believe it or not, the cycle of paranoia just keeps on spinning, almost identically. Just like his dad, Zeus hears a prophecy that a child of his will overthrow him. His first wife, Metis, is pregnant. So what does he do? He tricks her into turning into a fly, and he swallows her. He literally swallows his problem, proving the apple doesn't fall far from the tyrannical tree.
And the rest of the family? Oh, they're no better. This is just a quick snapshot. You've got Hera, so disgusted by her imperfect son Hephaestus that she just throws him off a mountain. You have Poseidon, who acts like a giant sore loser and floods an entire city just because they didn't pick him as their patron. And then there's Ares and Aphrodite having an affair so obvious it ends in him getting caught in a net and publicly humiliated. I mean, this isn't a divine ruling council. It's a reality TV show waiting to happen.
So, how did these incredibly flawed, petty gods treat their new creation, humanity? Well, that whole relationship can be summed up by the story of one titan who actually dared to care about us, Prometheus.
See, Prometheus looked down and saw humans as these weak, shivering creatures.
So in this amazing act of compassion, he steals fire from the gods and gives it to mankind. And this one gift changes everything. Suddenly we can build tools, we can create cities, we can stop being just animals. But for Zeus, this isn't progress. This is a threat.
And Zeus's payback is just horrifying. He chains Prometheus to a mountain and sentences him to eternal agony. Every single day, an eagle comes and rips out his liver. And every single night, it grows back, just so the whole butchery can start all over again the next morning. This was the price for loving humanity.
But Zeus wasn't finished. He had to punish humanity too. So he has Hephaestus create Pandora, the first woman who is basically designed to be a beautiful trap. He sends her to Earth with a jar and one rule: don't open it. But of course, her curiosity, which was literally designed by the gods, wins out. She opens it and unleashes every evil you can imagine into the world: sickness, war, greed, pain, forever ending humanity's golden age. And this is the final, chilling twist in that story. The very last thing left inside the jar was hope. But you have to wonder, was trapping it in there an act of mercy to give us something to cling to? Or was it actually the cruelest part of the punishment, ensuring that we would suffer through all of those evils without ever getting the sweet release of just giving up?
So, after all of this horror, this betrayal, this cosmic-level cruelty, what are we supposed to take away from it all? Well, the real answer might be that these stories aren't really about the gods at all. They're about us.
When you get right down to it, these gods are just a mirror. They weren't created to be these perfect ideals we should aspire to. They were created as reflections of us. They're chaotic, they're lustful, they're jealous, they're petty, because we are. Their stories are just our own human flaws, amplified by infinite power and played out on a cosmic stage.
Which means the real monsters in these myths were never the Gorgons or the Minotaurs. No, the true monsters are the things the gods represent: the insatiable greed, the blinding arrogance, the kind of soul-crushing jealousy that lives inside the human heart.
And that's really what these ancient stories leave us with. They're warnings, whispering to us across thousands of years. They're telling us that while we might not fear the wrath of Zeus anymore, the real battle was never against the gods on Olympus. It was always with the potential for monstrosity inside ourselves. And that leaves us with one last nagging question. The gods may be gone, but have we mastered our own demons?
That was just a glimpse into the darkness of Olympus. But to truly understand these gods, we must go back to the very beginning, long before Zeus, before the Titans, back to the void of chaos. I have compiled the complete chronological saga from the birth of the universe to the fall of the giants in a full-length documentary. Click the video on your screen right now to witness the full nightmare unfold. See you there.